Hey everybody, welcome to another World of Tanks replay. This time I'm playing the T-37 platooned up with Anseth in his SU-122-44. Now at this point I was trying to pick up one of the T-28 heavy tank concept light tank missions. I can't remember which one it was exactly. I think it was one of the platoon missions where I had to do X amount of damage with my platoon mates. I've ended up on the south spawn of Overlord. Now, I haven't really played light tanks much on this map, but I have kind of an inkling of what I'm going to do. Knowing there's plenty of vegetation cover around the eastern sort of fields, and nice bowls there for me to play around in without getting shot from outside, that's where I'm thinking of going. Specifically, I decide to head up towards E7 and see just how much I can spot of the enemy team. Now, I wasn't expecting to survive very long. I really thought somebody would either push into me and proxy spot me or simply see me the moment I began firing my gun. But as it turns out, I grossly underestimated the amount of camouflage provided by this hedgerow. Good news already, the enemy haven't pushed anything through here. Looks like their MT-25 has elected not to contest the position, and now I've spotted basically everything on the enemy team. I think the Crusaders picked up some of these lights, but most of it I'd say is me. For now, I don't bother firing. I don't want to attract too much attention. If I get lit, I probably won't even survive long enough to get off of this ridgeline I'm sitting on. So I just wait until the bulk of the enemy tanks have pushed past me and I can no longer see them. Presumably that means they can no longer see me, and I begin firing at the enemy arty while he's still in the open. My third shot goes high, my fourth wipes out his cover, and my next one manages to clean him up. The Stug's then totally exposed, doesn't seem to realise where the fire's coming from. With some help from my teammates, I'm able to dispatch him quickly and then shift focus onto the SU-100Y, which is one of the biggest threats on the enemy team. So they're already down their artillery support and one of their lower tier tank destroyers. I also know where their high tier tank destroyers have deployed because I've spotted them, and they haven't really gone far from there. I start trying to take shots at the other 100Y as it backs off, but unfortunately no luck. I'm still not spotted. This guy's still in the open, so I clean him up while I have the opportunity. He seems not to really have any clue how to get out of this, and there's his solution. That's how you get out of it, you go back to your garage. Meanwhile, my team's pushing heavily up the right flank into the sole remaining defender, which is the other SU-100Y, and the enemy are in tatters. Now, presumably they have something on the beach, because there are some tanks missing on the minimap, conspicuous in their absence. But for now, I'm happy to work the centre of the map. Anything that comes up from the beach can be dealt with later. I sit here looking for shots between this gap. I was hoping either the T-28 would pull forwards or the T-20 would pull backwards. Or sorry, pull forwards at this point. But the T-28 moved back to the other end of the building. I did get a shot in, finished him off. But in the end, I decided to just dive on the T-20. And only now am I spotted. The T-20 is still preoccupied with Anseth, and in any case probably hasn't realised I just decloaked behind him. I get a quick snapshot to the SU-122-44, and the Tiger one behind me finishes it off before it can get a shot at me. Sure enough, the enemy Tiger and T-29 and their Jagdpanther all went beach. What a bunch of idiots. Turns out their MT-25 did as well. So while these guys are lit by the 100Y and the Stug, I get some shots into their sides. Now, we do have a problem here, and I kind of fucked up at this point. I am able to get resets on them for now, but they're moving behind the buildings. Now, I can't recall if those houses are destructible or not. I think parts of them are, but mostly they aren't. I decided to sit here and keep pecking away, sniping, which only worked as long as they were in the open. And as soon as that T-29 repairs his track, he's unspotted and he's no longer in the open. Now, I didn't realise how short the amount of time we had left was until about here, and I realised my mistake. None of our other teammates pushed in, they were trying to snipe off my spotting as well, and so we've ended up with a draw. Now, had I been paying a bit more attention, I might have been able to scoot in for a suicide reset, buying answers some time to push up and finish them off, but I'm just going to throw it out there that I'd quite happily lay that one on my teammates. We could have easily had 3 on cap, instead only 2 people elected to stay there, and for a moment I thought they were going to leave it too. But not only that, but the Stuart Emil, the Tiger, and the E25 all failed to push around and get a flanking shot on that cap, knowing full well that Anseth and I and the SU-100 could not get direct line of sight on those guys anymore. So I think that one was a bit of a shared failure on all our parts. Certainly I could have bailed that team out, but it's one of those things that just didn't occur to me at the time, unfortunately, and I had to pay for it by getting a loss instead of a win on what would have been a very, very, very good game in my T-37. As it happens, I got pretty decent reward out of this anyway. I'm pretty sure that I was on one of the platoon missions. Either way, I remember I got the mission done on this match, and so, you know, it was disappointing to not have the win, but it was nice to get an otherwise good match out of it. So just a case of a bit of a lapse of attention at the end there cost us the game, but I mean, a draw isn't really any better than a loss, except to say that you can spite the enemy team as well, because they certainly didn't win it either. But they really should not have been given a draw with such a stupid strategy. I'm actually impressed they got up the ramps from the beach without being blown up. That would suggest to me that our Stuart Emil was badly out of position and should have moved sooner. I know that thing's not really fast, but he should have had enough mobility to get into a better position to stop them coming up. I probably should have told Anseth to get a move on earlier, but I just wasn't thinking about it, and I kind of get stuck in the habit of thinking everyone plays this game as much as me. And so Anseth, who's coming back after something like a year or a year and a half of not playing, probably doesn't realise what's going on this map, which he had never played before up until this match. So yeah, I could have avoided it, but chalk it up for future experience. And once again, I'm going to have to start really watching the cap timer, because it's a bad habit of mine. I don't pay nearly enough attention to the timers in this game. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. The T-37 is about as capable now as the Chaffee used to be, when it was still the last of the strong Tier 5 lights. The Chaffee, of course, is still very good. If anything, it's better now than it used to be, because matchmaking was altered. But if you were used to playing the old Chaffee, the T-37 is pretty much more of the same. It's about the same size, it looks about the same, it handles more or less the same, its gun, turret, everything. It's just the old Chaffee, pretty much. And so if you haven't actually played up the new US lights yet, but you did enjoy the old Chaffee before it got switched around and got its top turret and top gun taken off of it, this thing is pretty much the same thing, and I think you'll enjoy it. And of course the Bulldog is the same, but cranked up to 11. So the US light line is pretty consistent. The playstyle doesn't really change until you hit the T49, and even then if you use the 90mm on the T49, it still remains more or less the same. Of course, who's going to use the 90mm on the T49? You may as well just play the Walker Bulldog, or get an RU-251. The only reason really to own a T49, unless you're trying to grind to the 54E1 through it, is the comedy cannon. But in any case, thanks for watching. As ever, I'll see you on the next video.